How exactly should a Christian score a debate? Let's think about that. I just recently started this series where I am looking to do some long form debate review. And I started with the debate between Dr. White and Dr. Tuggy on the topic, Is Jesus Yahweh? Or the thesis statement. Now, this is an important topic because if Jesus is Yahweh, as the New Testament would teach, then that would actually settle a lot of arguments with some of the cults and different heretical groups that are out there. If Jesus is Yahweh, then Unitarians are wrong, Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong, Muslims are wrong, uh, all of these categories, Mormons are wrong. All of these categories of other teachings, other religions are incorrect. Or at least you would have to argue that the New Testament does not support any other religious view if it supports the concept that Jesus is Yahweh or that truth. So when I started this debate review, I was still kind of figuring out what style and technique I wanted to do. So probably from here on out, not everything is going to look the same. But I think I have a general preference on how I want to go about this. So let me address a couple things. My plan, let's see if I actually put it here. I know I wrote it down somewhere, but apparently not here. That's okay. I'll share with you. So my plan, as I score a debate, as I watch and review a debate, is the side I generally agree with during the opening and the rebuttal. I'm mostly going to just slightly comment here and there. The side I disagree with, I'm more often going to offer a live rebuttal to the opening and a live counter to the rebuttal that they present. So I will be working and addressing their material as they go. I'll try to have a Bible app up to show some of the inconsistencies that I see, but I'm more likely going to do that in the rebuttal than in the opening. Now, for cross exam is where I'm going to probably comment a little bit on both. But one thing that I will do, and I think I have this planned out, is that when the person who I would disagree with is offering their questions, I will answer their cross exam as if they were pressing it to me first, and then I will let the other debater chime in as he would, and I'll offer a comment on that. I don't know that I'm going to speak a whole lot during the conclusions outside of a little bit of commentary on both sides. And then if there's any audience Q&A, I might address some of that, but in my experience, audience Q&A can be very off topic. And since I think with debate review, it's good to address the topic at hand, I'm not going to do a lot of that. At least I don't see myself doing that. Now, how do you score a debate is something that I kind of started to wrestle with this last week because I saw people claiming that somebody won one of the debates where I would have been surprised if that was the case. I haven't watched the debate, but I was surprised that they said who won. So I started to do a little bit of digging and research about scoring a debate because I want to do so accurately. And I want to draw your attention to a couple things. So this is the debate scorecard. It's used in all kinds of mock debates around our country. So it deals first with delivery. How well did they interact with the audience in terms of eye contact, tone of voice, and pace? Now, when I want to look at a theological or academic debate, I don't care about delivery. I really don't. I want to hear your arguments. I want to hear what you're presenting and whether or not it's logically consistent. So delivery might work in a classroom, but I don't think it's one of the important things to look at an academic debate. So the second thing they put, organization. Organization has to do with whether or not you were well prepared, consistently clear, had maybe a presentation. Again, organization to me only matters insofar as it your arguments, your points of reference were actually brought together. So organization in the way that mock debates are not a primary thing for me. Now, information. Consistently used accurate and relevant facts, statistics to support arguments. I think that is incredibly important. That's one of the most important. Persuasiveness. All arguments were logically convincing or not logically convincing. Now, persuasiveness to me is going to be part of the problem in scoring any debate because it's subjective. It just is subjective. And it is especially subjective for people who are already on your side. Whenever you go into a debate, there are generally three audiences, sometimes a fourth. The first audience is the audience that agrees with you. The second audience is the audience that agrees with your opponent. The third audience is the people who truly have not made up their mind. To them, persuasiveness matters. And the fourth audience are the people who are just there. They're not going to end up really paying as much attention as you wish they would. And those people will be at debates. But persuasiveness, you're rarely going to persuade somebody against or toward your position if they started off firmly against you. You just aren't, not on a regular basis. And then rebuttal, counter arguments. Were your counter arguments effective or to the point? And then they have a category here for respect. Respect is subjective. So somebody may think you're being disrespectful, but you're just being firm. You're being confident. So respect is not a great debate scorecard point, in my opinion. So with that in mind, I found another one that I'm going to use myself. But I wanted to at least give you that one to see how some people score debates. Number one, organization and clarity. But again, I've already established to some level this is not my primary focus. Number two, use of arguments. Were you giving relevant reasons for your points? And that's a key thing. Relevant reasons for your points. Not just points, not just reasons, but relevant ones. Facts and examples. So think in an academic debate, were you actually showing in the text of the scriptures where this is a true thing? Were you using logical proofs to show your reasoning? And then use of rebuttal, I established that before. And then presentation style, tone of voice, use of gestures, and stuff. That's going to be low on my scorecard. I'm probably not going to count number 1 or number 5 for the most part, unless you just are completely bombing in one of those two categories. So this is my debate scorecard that I will use. Now, I do want to address something. When it comes to rebuttal, okay? In my opinion, rebuttal has a few things to address. Did you actually address the points? Did you say you addressed them, but you actually passed over them? Did you deal with it, but you didn't bring any real weight or substance? Okay? And then the fourth category is you actually brought doubt to the argument that your opponent brought forward, or you utterly destroyed their argument. Rarely do I think somebody destroys another's argument. Now, with that being said, I want to note a few technical realities and problems. So this is a technical scorecard, but there are problems. Most of us, as we think through life, and this was true for me, we don't think like this. We're not always trying to score each individual category and point. We're not taking our time either. A lot of times when we listen to somebody's points, we just are very passive listeners. Now, secondly, we struggle with bias. I already brought this up, whether or not you already agree with the person. Third, it's not a perfect system. In theory, someone could score more on a debate scorecard, but clearly lose the debate because maybe they weren't as relevant as they needed. So they might score in other categories, but they were never really relevant to the points that we're going through. I want to address this specifically. I think one of the debates I'm about to review in the next month is going to be this kind of debate where the person who technically would win on a scorecard if you added everything up is not actually debating the topic. And because they're not debating the topic, they were not being relevant, and that relevance costs them more than just the points in the scorecard. It costs them the entire debate. There is subjectivity, though. We'll talk about that as we go. Now, how do you win a debate? Well, you start off presenting your case, dealing with your opponent's objections, and cross exam. Okay, those are three of the main things within a debate: opening, rebuttal, cross exam. Obviously, we have our conclusion. So, I would say in an opening, you will never win a debate. You're just presenting your arguments. You will seldom, but sometimes, win a debate in a rebuttal. Because in a rebuttal, you can really show the lack of arguments of your opponent. You can show where there are flaws in their thinking. You can show where there are holes. You can show where the Bible verses they presented are irrelevant. You can show where they misunderstood science or reason or had illogical conclusions. You can do all of those things in a rebuttal. But while you can do them in a rebuttal, you can exemplify the points in cross exam. So most debates are won in cross exam, in my opinion. Okay, this is my opinion. I've heard other debate reviewers and teachers discuss this reality. And then lastly, I would say you can also occasionally win a debate in a conclusion because you're just kind of finally pulling everything together. And if it's been close, you might be able to win some of your audience right there at the end. Now, that being said, remember what I said. You cannot win a debate in an opening, in my opinion. But I do think you can lose a debate in the opening. If you show up to a debate, let me say for Dr. White and Dr. Tuggy, and they showed up and they made a presentation that was relevant to the topic at hand, right? But let's say Dr. Tuggy was very adamantly against James's view of eschatology. James is a postmillennialist. Or baptism. James is a Reformed Baptist. And he got in, and his entire opening started being about how if you don't baptize infants, then they will not be connected to the one true God. Well, you just made the debate about baptism, and it's not about baptism. At that point, you have lost the debate because you're not debating the topic. So, that's how I would score a debate. If I'm scoring a debate and you come in and you start debating a topic that is not the thesis, in my opinion, you've already lost the debate. You may have relevant points, you may even be right about some things, you may even be able to salvage it maybe during some point, but probably not. But more often than not, if you show up and you debate like that in your opening, you lose the debate. That's how I would score a debate. Maybe you would not. I hope, though, in all of this, that you see this isn't just some mental thing to go through and a waste of time. I hope you understand that we are supposed to think critically and deeply about these subjects. Brothers and sisters, the topic, is Jesus Yahweh, is not an unimportant topic. There were debates in the earliest centuries of the Christian church about this topic and how to understand it rightly. And they understood that if you misunderstand this, if you get this wrong and strongly wrong, then you're not even a part of the faith. These are important topics. Not everything is that level. Not everything is a first level issue. But we'll talk about that and how to distinguish what are primary issues and secondary issues within the church, and even what are third level issues. But that's a topic for a different video. I hope that you were able to understand this. I hope that you are looking forward to the debate reviews. And I would love to see your own interaction as we begin going through more of the White versus Tuggy debate review. God bless, and keep on thinking to the glory of God.